It's one of the most fundamental processes in our biology. But let's be honest, it's often shrouded in mystery or just gets turned into a punchline. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and actually look at the fascinating science behind a human erection.
Right, so we all have a general idea of what an erection is, but what's actually going on? On a mechanical and chemical level, how does our body take a simple thought or a bit of touch and turn it into such a dramatic physical change?
We're going to treat this for what it is, a marvel of biological engineering. No taboos, no awkwardness, just the incredible science, the way our nervous system, our blood vessels, and our anatomy all work together in perfect sync.
So where does it all begin? Well, the journey to an erection always starts with a signal, a trigger, and it turns out there are two totally distinct pathways that can kick the whole process off.
This slide breaks it down perfectly. You've got the mind and you've got the body. A psychogenic erection, that's the one that starts in your brain. It's from something you see or hear or even just a fantasy. No physical touch needed at all. Then you have the reflexogenic erection, which is a direct reflex to physical stimulation. Both are super powerful, and a lot of the time, they're working together.
And here's the really crucial point. It doesn't matter if the signal started in your brain or from physical touch. Both of those pathways send their messages to the exact same command center, the sacral region of your spinal cord. This spot basically flips a switch and activates a pre-programmed reflex that tells the body what to do next.
And this is where the magic really happens. Let's move into the physical mechanics, because this is where we get to see how the penis operates as this incredibly sophisticated, self-contained hydraulic system.
So, let's look at the anatomy. The key players are these three cylindrical chambers of tissue. You've got the two larger ones, the corpora cavernosa, and then the smaller corpus spongiosum that surrounds the urethra. The best way to think about them is like highly specialized sponges, just waiting for the signal to fill up.
The whole process is this beautiful four-step cascade. First, your parasympathetic nervous system, that's your rest and digest system, sends the go command. This triggers the release of a key chemical messenger. That messenger tells the arteries to open up wide, which floods those spongy tissues with blood under high pressure. And finally, to maintain it, the veins that would normally let blood out get squeezed shut. Blood gets trapped, and that's what creates firmness. It's ingenious.
Okay, let's really focus on that chemical messenger, because it is the absolute star of this show, nitric oxide. This simple little molecule is the primary signal that gets the whole party started. It's what we call a potent vasodilator, which is just a fancy way of saying it tells the muscle in the arteries to relax, allowing them to expand so blood can just rush in. Without nitric oxide, the hydraulic system just can't activate. And just as elegantly as it all starts, it has to end. This reversal, which is called detumescence, happens when the opposite nervous system, the sympathetic or fight-or-flight system, takes control. It sends a different signal that causes the arteries to tighten up and the veins to open, letting the blood flow back out.
And this diagram here shows us that opposite state, the flaccid state. Here, your sympathetic nerves, the fight-or-flight ones, are always sending a low-level signal to keep those arteries constricted, which limits blood flow. It's actually an active process of restriction, which is why that go signal from the other system can override it so effectively when the time is right.
Okay, so we've covered the how. Now let's talk about the what. There are a lot of anxieties and myths out there about the physical characteristics of an erection, so let's just look at what the actual data says.
So what does the data tell us? Well, a huge systematic review of over 15,000 men found that the average erect length is about 13.12 centimeters, or just a little over 5 inches. Now, this isn't about comparison, it's about grounding this whole conversation in reality, not in some kind of cultural expectation.
And here's a crucial myth buster. You've heard of growers versus showers, right? Well, it's a real thing. The size of a flaccid penis does not reliably tell you what its erect size will be. There's just no strong correlation, which is fantastic information that helps normalize the huge diversity of human bodies.
This is another one that people worry about. Once erect, should it point up, down, straight ahead? Is there like a correct orientation?
And the data shows pretty clearly there is no single normal. Just look at this table. If you combine the angles from 30 to 85 degrees, that's over 60% of people. But look further down, almost 20% point more horizontally, and nearly 5% actually point downwards. The takeaway here is that the range is incredibly wide. So, the single most important point of this whole section is this. Biology loves variation. From size to shape to the angle of an erection, what's normal is a massive spectrum, not just one single point on a chart.
Of course, because this is such a complex system, sometimes the mechanics don't work exactly as expected. So let's just briefly look at what happens when things go wrong and focus on two of the main medical conditions.
First up, there's erectile dysfunction, or ED. Now, this isn't about a one-time issue. It's a consistent, ongoing problem. But look at that statistic. It's far from rare. It affects a huge portion of the male population, which is really important to remember to help reduce any stigma that's attached to it.
And this slide is so important because it shows that ED is almost always a medical condition with real physical roots. As you can see, the causes can be anything from vascular issues, problems with blood flow, to neurological disorders, or even just side effects from medication. And while yes, psychological factors can play a role, it's so crucial to see it as a health issue, not some kind of personal failing.
On the complete other end of the spectrum, you have priapism. This is what happens when the hydraulics fail to reverse. The blood can't get out. It's a painful condition, and I want to be crystal clear. This is a medical emergency. After 4 hours, that trapped, oxygen-deprived blood can start to cause permanent damage to the erectile tissues.
All right, let's zoom out now, because the ability to get an erection isn't just about sex. It is actually a powerful, powerful indicator of a man's overall health.
And this, right here, is probably the single most important takeaway from our entire discussion. The arteries in the penis are very small. If they're getting clogged or becoming dysfunctional, it is often one of the very first signs that the larger, more critical arteries in the heart and the brain are also in trouble. ED can be the canary in the coal mine for cardiovascular disease.
So let's end with this thought. Just like your blood pressure or your heart rate, erectile function provides critical data about our underlying health. So what if we shifted our perspective? What if we saw it not as some subject of shame or secrecy, but as another key vital sign in the story of our overall well-being?